Okay, let's see what Discord voted for the next guide. I really hope it's Flutter. Oh, damn it. Hello and welcome to the VGC guide to Urshifu. This is going to be a much longer guide than usual since I'm going to be covering both Urshifu fully. So if you like the longer style guides, please like and subscribe. I don't know. 50 likes and I'll do all separate Ogerpon masks next. I will be talking about the current VGC format played in Scarlet and Violet, Regulation F. But Urshifu is built so similar in any regulation it's legal, it will very likely apply to Pokemon champions in the future. I'm going to start the guide by covering Single Strike completely, then moving on to Rapid. And for the sake of confusion, I'm going to call them Urshifu Water and Dark just to make things simpler. Anyway, onto the Dark builds. Urshifu Dark is definitely the lesser used Urshifu, but don't let that fool you. He is just as strong, if not stronger, depending on the current meta threats. Urshifu's Dark fighting types cover each other's weaknesses better than you think. While neither can hit fairy types, fighting moves such as Close Combat deals super effective damage against the dark types Wicked Blow can't touch. And even better, Wicked Blow deals super effective damage to the psychic types that resist fighting moves, and the ghosts that are immune. If you have some great fairy counterplay in the rest of your team, Urshifu can cause some crazy problems for the opponent, since they have almost zero defensive play due to Urshifu's stupid ability, Unseen Fist, making all moves that deal contact damage, basically every single one of Urshifu's attacks, hit through protect. I crashed out about this enough in another video, but if you ever ask another VGC player what the most unfair feature in the game is, they'll definitely point you towards this. With the right build for your team, Urshifu will take you far. Speaking of, Urshifu Dark is a surprisingly versatile Pokemon, given its main goal is just to hit as hard as it can. If you were looking at making a strong Urshifu build, I would definitely start by recommending giving Urshifu a Focus Sash. While yes, you usually save this for your squishy support, which with Urshifu's surprisingly good physical bulk and great attack stat, definitely is not squishy. Since Urshifu does have a 4x weakness to Fairy, giving it that reassurance that it will live one attack to get a crazy strong hit off can be very strong. Since you do now have a Focus Sash, you don't really need any bulk, so you can invest all your EVs into your speed and attack. Along with an adamant nature, it helps Urshifu hit fast and hard, working super well into hyper offense styles of teams. Great moves for a set like this are Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, and Protect. Wicked Blow and Close Combat being your main attacking moves, Sucker Punch helping you give priority over anyone that wants to attack you, and Protect being a fantastic defense tool to keep your Focus Sash safe. Urshifu with this set can also be one of the few users of Terra Stella, helping you give a massive 50% boost to one of your attacks per move of each type. For example, if you choose to gain a boost to Wicked Blow, you can't then boost Sucker Punch later, but you can boost Close Combat. Since it doesn't need the extra defense thanks to the Focus Sash, that extra damage can be a huge difference maker in battle. Another, more difficult but definitely ridiculously strong build if you could make it work, is the Choice Banded Terra Poison set. Swapping Protect out for Poison Jab to add some great offensive power to an already very solid defensive Terra. Since you no longer have that Focus Sash though, you will need to make sure you have some very solid bulk to tank certain key hits. With the set I have made for you all to try today, some key hits you can survive are an Urshifu Water Surging Strikes with any one particular boost, Rain, Choice Band, or Terra Water, one unboosted Regibolt Draco Meteor, and surprisingly, an Indeedee female Dazzling Gleam. You can also just pick up some very solid KOs on all Ogerpon masks with Close Combat, any bulky Flutter main with Wicked Blow or Poison Jab if they Terra to Fairy, or finally, a 2-hit KO on Amoonguss or Regibolt, which are insanely bulky Pokemon that can cause Urshifu Dark's most picked teammates big trouble. As you can see, the Choice Band makes Urshifu a very heavy hitter, with its main downside being that both Wide Guard and Follow Me can become pretty essential in keeping Urshifu safe, making it a more niche case use, so if this isn't your playstyle, Focus Sash is definitely a way to go. Both are definitely very strong in their own rights depending on the teammates. When doing research into Urshifu Dark's best teammates, which by the way takes a really long time, so if it does help you, subscribing to be a massive help to me. Plus, if you don't want to see my videos in the future, you can always change your mind. There are a few huge standouts. I'll start off with a very important supporting role for Urshifu Dark, Ogerpon Wellspring. I feel like this is a really common yet really untalked about synergy, which surprised me because of how strong it can be. The biggest reason is how great Ogerpon's tools are for defending Urshifu. To start, when not Terastallized, Ogerpon has the ability Water Absorb, meaning any water types that connect to Ogerpon, which is easily done thanks to Follow Me, will actually heal Ogerpon by 25% instead of damaging it. And since you'll run into Urshifu Water everywhere you go, it's such a strong tool to have. Ogerpon can also defend so many fairy Pokemon as well, which is Urshifu's biggest problem. The reason seems pretty unclear at first, since neither water or grass types resist fairy, so why not use something like the Half-Flame Mask? This is where you need to look into Terastallization. When Ogerpon Wellspring Terastallizes, your abilities change from Water Absorb to Embody Aspect, which, depending on your Ogerpon's mask, increases either her speed, attack, defense, or in Wellspring's case, it's special defense, which, since so many fairy moves in the meta are special damage, this gives Ogerpon so much power to redirect hits and let his teammates get its exceptional damage off. While Terastallize, it will also gain the usual 50% damage boost to its Terra type, this case being water. So Ogerpon with Ivy Cudgel still does scary damage, making it a fantastic mix of offensive and defensive power to support its favourite Karai bear. The next teammate that has amazing synergy with Urshifu Dark is Fluttermane. Honestly, Fluttermane has so many build paths and options, it really needs its own video soon. But the main feature making Fluttermane such a strong pairing with Urshifu Dark is its stupidly high fairy damage. Urshifu's main attacking moves synergize super well with Fluttermane. Since it can't touch steel types and can be threatened by ghost types if it's poorly positioned, Urshifu easily does super effective damage to both. Since Urshifu can hit through protect, it makes it scary for opposing Pokemon to make defensive plays, which helps Fluttermane's ridiculous 135 special attack and speed shine brighter than it ever could on its own. Honestly, I have zero idea who thought this stat pool was a good idea. Both of these Pokemon are so amazing on their own, it honestly feels like a no-brainer putting them together. The final Pokemon I believe I need to mention, since it completely cures any speed problems Urshifu may have, is Tornadus Incarnate. I'm only going to touch on this briefly since I have a full explanation which will be much more in depth with Urshifu Water. Spoiler alert. The main two strengths of Tornadus with Urshifu Dark are its typing. Since the flying type helps with Urshifu's fighting and bug weakness, giving you powerful defensive switch options. Plus, Tornadus is definitely the best Tailwind setter for most teams, since its Prankster ability gives any statuses it uses +1 priority, making Tailwind next to impossible for opponents to stop you from setting up. Doubling Urshifu's speed, making it only need to worry about dealing huge damage. There's definitely way more strengths to Tornadus, but I'll be back for him later in the video. So the bad matchups for Urshifu Dark are actually quite simple. You do not like fairy Pokemon. That's it, okay, next segment. Okay, I'm kidding, but I'll talk about some of the other examples soon. But I do need to talk about the best fairy in the format first, Fluttermane. Okay, yeah, you're going to struggle hard into Fluttermane. I will point out that its defense stat is so low that even when Fluttermane uses Terra Fairy, Wicked Blow, a move it resists, will still 2-hit KO bulkier Fluttermane. But most run Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam, meaning both Wide Guard and Follow Me can't defend Urshifu. Its speed stat is also so high, plus being boosted by Photosynthesis, just means there's so little Urshifu can do to consistently deal with Fluttermane. I'd really recommend having a hard counter on any team with Urshifu Dark. Okay, moving on. I wanted to bring up another Pokemon that wasn't a fairy type that Urshifu didn't like. Kind of. Not a fairy anyway. Raging Bolt. Okay, I know Raging Bolt isn't a fairy type despite me saying it was, but so many players in this format love using Terra Fairy to help them buy a turn to set up Calm Mind and then run away with the game. Plus, Raging Bolt's signature move, Thunderclap, basically the electric version of Sucker Punch that Urshifu uses, almost always 2-hit KOs Urshifu. Since Thunderclap has that +1 priority, you are realistically only getting one attack off of Urshifu, making Raging Bolt a scary Pokemon without Terra, and a monster with some Pixie Dust. Okay, now I promise no more fairy types. But I am going to mention a Pokemon you're probably all sick of hearing about in these videos. Yeah, you know what's coming, don't you? Let's not beat around the bush. Incineroar. So I've talked about Incineroar in every guide I've made so far. Thank you for all the support, by the way. I'm really enjoying making these. So if you've been keeping up with the other videos, you'll have probably guessed that the biggest scare for Urshifu in this matchup is that pesky Intimidate. So in most cases, Intimidate isn't the end of the world for Urshifu. The main move you want to spam is Wicked Blow, since it always crits. Critical hits ignore any stat drops on itself and any stat increases on opposing Pokemon. It shouldn't be a big deal, right? But of course, Incineroar is also a dark type, so he takes next to no damage from Wicked Blow. This only leaves close combat as a tool for damage, which is good, but somehow, Incineroar, this little monster, tanks close combat with an Intimidate drop on Urshifu. Its bulk is honestly so crazy. This gives any of Incineroar's usual partners the chance to clean up Urshifu after the defense drop it'll get from close combat, and it also leaves Incin to do more switching and fake out shenanigans. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more broken Incineroar gets, so I'm gonna have to move on for this before it comes to guide to Incineroar. Honestly, despite how toxic for the game I've just described Urshifu and its ability, I actually really love him. Most likely you'll see me at tournaments with him really soon. I just like his oomph he adds to the team. But anyway, I'm seeing this is already the longest video I've made and I'm only halfway through. Let's move on to Urshifu Rapid Strike. Urshifu Water definitely has a stronger type combination than its single strike counterpart. Water is honestly one of the best types in the game. Good offensively and great defensively. Meaning for most games with Urshifu Water on your team, if you can remove any grass or electric types on the opposing team, Urshifu can sweep games. Especially with setup like Rain Boosts, Urshifu Water can have a lot more damage potential. Similarly to Urshifu Dark, when Urshifu Water is in play, the name of the game is speed and power. Rain and Tailwind are so strong with Urshifu, since they enhance him so much. It also gives Urshifu a lot more item choice and variety than Urshifu Dark, which, before I move to builds, I did want to mention this item variety can give Urshifu Water so much more strength than Urshifu Dark in specifically closed team sheet tournaments. Since the item choices are so varied, it can be tough for an opponent to figure out what Urshifu's game plan is, which is a luxury Urshifu Dark doesn't get nearly as much. Anyway, let's fill you in on the items and EVs. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off this section of the video just by listing all the good items for Urshifu Water, and then telling you what items you should use in what situations. The Mystic Water, Focus Sash, Choice Band, and Choice Scarf. A really valuable move to have on Urshifu can be Detect, because some of the harder matchups typically have some sort of priority on their moves, which can make Pokemon like, spoiler alert for later in this video, Rillaboom and Raging Bolt much easier to deal with. Typically with a moveset with Protect, you would want to run the Focus Sash, but Mystic Water is still a great alternative if another Pokemon on your team needs to sash more. Plus the 20% boost to water moves can be a game changer for that one hit KO. The bulkiest Incineroar can just take a Surging Strikes without any boosts. For example, if Urshifu is holding the Focus Sash or Choice Scarf, Incineroar would tank it, but with Mystic Water, it will always be a consistent one hit KO. For either of the choice items, it is very team dependent. Do you have plenty of the fastest Pokemon on your team and have wastes top priority? Use the Choice Band to take advantage of your great supporting tools. Got some of the hardest hitters in the meta on your team? Choice Scarf can help Urshifu be a great cleanup tool on low HP Pokemon or a great setup supporter with coaching. Overall, I'd say the Focus Sash and Mystic Water are a great general choice, while Choice Scarf and Band are insane given the right tools. Which is the best out of the four? I hear you typing in the comments. Well, stop typing, my lovely viewer who is definitely cool, awesome, and also subscribed. I would definitely say the best option is Choice Scarf. Its versatility is so strong. Urshifu has so many options to enhance its damage already in this meta with Terra Water and Rain. I would argue having that extra speed, which can be harder to come by, will definitely be the most valuable thing for most teams. For moves, two necessities are Urshifu Water's signature Surging Strikes and Close Combat. The last two slots are a little more flexible though. Aqua Jet can be very valuable, having +1 priority can be a great asset if you're struggling to Trick Room or Hyper Offense teams. Protect can also be one of the best options if you need an option to slow your games down. If you run a choice item though, Protect isn't an option. Giving U-Turn to Urshifu can help chip down grass types it hates, while also giving a fast switch out of danger, while helping chip down opponents still. Even EV sets can be pretty varied, but the one I've made for this video counts as what I'd say would be the two Pokemon you'll see most in the meta. Incineroar and Fluttermane. You can one-hit KO any Incineroar that does not have the bold nature, and most Fluttermane with Surging Strikes with 0 damage boosts. You also have a very good chance, around 70%, to survive one Raging Bolt Thunderclap with no boosts. And you can safely take a Rillaboom Grassy Glide or Ogerpon Hornleech. And to top it all off, if you use the Choice Scarf with this set, you're a few points faster than any Fluttermane without speed boosts, giving you a strong offense into what could be a very bad matchup without prep. I would also say that Urshifu Water has a more diverse pool of teammates than its Dark counterpart thanks to its typing. The Water type can have some really great synergies with the other types. The first Pokemon that I'm going to talk about are actually going to be two bundled together, since I've mentioned them both plenty in a previous video discussing this exact synergy. Rillaboom and, you guessed it, Incineroar. The main reason their synergy is so strong is because for one, a Grass, Water and Fire balance core on your team is really strong and consistent for both defensive and offensive play. Plus, Rillaboom and Incineroar with Fake Out spam, plus their abilities, means Urshifu can be kept really safe to do what he does best, attack. Incineroar can lower opposing Pokemon stats with Intimidate, while Rillaboom can use Grassy Surge to heal Urshifu, keeping it stronger for longer to keep spamming attacks. But if you want to learn more about Rillaboom specifically, I have a full other video discussing all the strengths and weaknesses of him, plus the synergy I'm talking about in this video. So make sure you go check it out after this. Another great teammate if you like the hyper offensive style of play to boost your team's damage output is Chien-Pao. To start, the typings offensively cover each other super well. Chien-Pao can deal with those pesky Psychic Grass and Flying types Urshifu is scared of, while Urshifu Water can easily knock out the fire types Chien-Pao is terrified of. Urshifu's ability to destroy any defensive play with Unseen Fist has amazing synergy with Chien-Pao's ability, Sword of Ruin, reducing all Pokemon on the field's defense by 25%, except for its own. It's just a very consistent boost to Urshifu's already stupid offensive pressure, combined with a Pokemon that can manage some of its greatest weaknesses. If you can get these Pokemon together on the field safely, what more could you ever need to run away with the game? Just make sure you watch out for Fairy Hits because both of these two hate it. The final teammate I need to talk about, and what I'd argue is the strongest support Urshifu can get, if you're paying attention to the dark portion of the guide, you know exactly who's coming. Tornadus. No, the bird unfortunately will not be mentioned today. Tornadus honestly feels like he was made to support Urshifu, as long as you don't think about Tornadus existing 10 years before Urshifu or anything. Its ability Prankster, giving priority to all status moves, plus having access to both Tailwind and Rain Dance, some of the absolute best moves to set up Urshifu Water, makes him such a strong combo. Tailwind doubling your speed for 5 turns can make Urshifu deal too much damage for teams to handle if you aren't prepared. Plus, not only does Rain boost Urshifu Water's moves by a massive 50%, it also makes Tornadus' signature move, Bleakwind Storm, completely ignore accuracy, meaning it has consistent damage on both Pokemon each turn that can never miss, making even the most support-heavy Tornadus a threat that needs to be handled ASAP. Put a strong ground type on your team to cover for electric types, and they're going to carry games. Urshifu Water counters are honestly quite common to come by, since Urshifu is everywhere in competitive play. If you want to use it, make sure you're ready to deal with some of its hard counters. The first one I want to talk about, since we've already discussed it with Urshifu Dark already, Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt is definitely a decent warn to Urshifu. Close combat can definitely do a lot more damage than most are prepared for though. I think the biggest thing you need to look out for, like I mentioned with Urshifu Dark, is its signature move, Thunderclap. But honestly, it's twice as scary for Urshifu Water. Since you can't resist the super effective damage, if you don't prepare for your Urshifu accordingly, you will be one-shot by a Thunderclap if you have no counterplay ready on your team. Definitely a scary obstacle to look out for. Another Pokemon that you definitely need to watch out for, as it doesn't just wall Surging Strikes, it actually heals from it. Ogerpon Wellspring. Not only does Ogerpon get the ability Water Absorb, it also gains the move Follow Me, so your opponent can redirect any Surging Strikes into their Ogerpon and it'll heal them for 25% of their HP, giving your opponent a huge advantage. Plus, since Ogerpon also has the Water type, its signature move, Ivy Cudgel, will also be boosted by any Rain boost that you want to set up for Urshifu. To top it off, its other type, Grass, also gives your opponent a crazy amount of offensive pressure into Urshifu, making it an amazing defensive and offensive threat into Urshifu. Finally, the Pokemon I would be most afraid of playing into with an Urshifu Rapid Strike is Amoonguss. Very simple answer, you just can't do damage to it. Amoonguss' poison and fighting types means you resist both Surging Strikes and close combat. This combined with Rage Powder means you are forced to hit Amoonguss until they faint or switch, letting whatever Pokemon your opponent wants sweep the game. Many Amoonguss also run the Rocky Helmet item, which makes the opponent take damage when they deal contact damage to it. This, plus Urshifu hitting 3 times in one turn when using Surging Strikes, means Urshifu will actually deal more damage to itself than Amoonguss. Honestly, it's an impossible wall for Urshifu without any counters to it. Before I move on, I will say that the Safety Goggles item, if you're having too much trouble into Amoonguss, will completely void any pressure it can provide, since the Safety Goggles will make you immune to any powder moves, meaning Urshifu will ignore both Spore and Rage Powder. Not a bad item at all, but it does hurt to lose that big damage boost. And that's both Urshifu. It's been a very long video, but I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you make sure you don't miss the next one by subscribing. A ridiculous amount of you lovely people are not subscribed, so you could miss a guide to your favourite Pokemon next. Speaking of, be sure to like the video and drop a comment on what Pokemon you'd like to see in a guide next. Or if you need to ask me any direct questions, be sure to check out my Twitch. I love answering any questions that new players to the scene have. Have a great day guys, and I'll see you in the next one.